Welcome to the Global Exclusive Podcast. Today is a special day because it's anniversary week. But because it's anniversary, we have invited a special guest today. Sinzar, welcome to the podcast again.
No, this is his first time here. Let's pretend
Uh-huh.
it is. Welcome, Sinzar.
51st dates, it's always the first time.
Oh, man. He says the sweetest thing, doesn't he?
He does. He's so sweet now. He's sponsored by Gumi and Isquare.
Yeah, okay. So I heard jokes about this on Discord. Like, what are we talking about here? Sinzar, are you sponsored by Gumi?
The video was, through the lawyers, I had to, it was sponsored. All the content creators had to, agree to the terms. But yeah,
Listen.
That was for the anniversary video.
Yeah, but what I'm actually asking is like, are your bosses like 50% stats because you're now sponsored?
Oh, I
Wow.
wish.
Do you get paid in exposure, or do you get paid in lapis? I bet.
Shit, I'd love to get paid in Lapis. Hey, Gumi, listen, if you have anything you want to pay me for,
Yeah, I Barrows, I have your employer on the line here. They say they can work with you on that.
I wonder how taxes would work like that in Sweden. Would they tax you on lapis? I wonder.
That's interesting actually, because like it's 50% tax pressure in Sweden. So, like yeah, if they give me 10,000 lapis, I guess they'd have to give 10,000 more to the government, to some dude playing FFBE.
So you're saying that we would see the government of Sweden like topping the charts in Dark Visions.
And
Or CoW.
CoW. I keep forgetting it's not. I want to say Chamber of Wills, but it's not. It's Clash of Wills, right?
It's Clash of Wills.
Yeah.
Clash
But
of
before we
Wills,
get on to
yeah.
Clash of Wills, let's talk about the new units because there were quite a few, and I think every one of them were really, really good. And it again points out underscores the point that Gumi knows what they're doing and Alem has no idea what the fuck they're doing. But anyways, the first unit we're going to discuss today is Elena. So, anyone want to talk about Elena today?
Elena.
You mean
Who the
Elena?
fuck is Elena? Yeah, Elena. I know Elena, but
Okay. We're not gonna overdo this topic again. Like a year
listen.
into the podcast.
We all know who the golden standard for pronouncing is. So, Sinzar, how do you pronounce this unit?
I call her Elena, so.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
No, he said
Alright, Lapis.
Elena. That's wrong.
I mean, it's closer to what we were saying compared to Shadow.
Listen. At least it wasn't Lapin, so we're good here.
Lapin? Who the fuck is that?
Oh, during the anniversary stream, instead of saying 10,000, they're going to give us, X amount of lapis. It actually said lapin. So
Oh, shit.
it's now called lapin in an official.
It's kind of like
stream.
when Katy Perry said that everyone wanted to get a rainbow star. I remember that too. Okay. All right. So Elena, I want to do the intro here. So the best thing about Elena is her Brave Shift sprite. Not gonna lie.
I mean, there are other good things about her, but yeah, sure.
No. It's just the Brave Shift sprite. I'm sorry. No
okay.
takes. Okay. Never mind. Okay, there are other good things about her.
Uh,
The sprite's
So-
pretty good.
Damage-wise, in normal content, she's pretty mid-tier. She does like about 400 billion damage return, which is around what last gen does, but she doesn't burst as hard as him. So
She's just a consistent chainer. Yeah.
yeah. The problem is that she's a hybrid, and for a lot of trials, that's going to be a really bad fit because they're usually these days like weak to physical or magic. So if you're using both stats, then you're getting screwed on one side or the other.
Yeah, and more often than not, even if they're not weak to physical or magic, one of their stats is a bit higher. So
Well, yeah,
It's still-
that's what I meant by weak to
Ah,
physical
okay.
or magic.
Yeah.
She does have good utility in her shift, though. Like, she has 100% AoE resist buff to all elements. It's a cooldown, so, like, it's very sensitive to dispels. But for some fights, it could be very good.
And I mean,
She isn't supposed to be a damage
that's-
dealer, I think.
just to go back to that ability, you're talking about the ability that also removes imperils, right? Because that's, I think, also a huge strength of the ability.
The Imperil remove, I think, is less useful because it has a 5-turn cooldown. A lot of the bosses that use Imperils just, like, shit them out every turn.
Yeah,
So-
you're not going to be using it for Asura, right? Because obviously
Yeah.
you would need to spam that
Like-
every turn.
Asura does it constantly. Dark Visions does it, like, I don't know, every 2 or 3 turns when they do that, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'm trying to imagine a situation where this lets you get away with ignoring an Imperil, and I really can't think of one.
Well, I would say DV, right? Because if you're going for a turn 5 clear, on turn 3 you use this,
I
and
guess,
you're good.
yeah. The
You
problem
don't
is
have.
that
I
her
mean, you don't
personal
have to go through.
damage, like her personal burst isn't that high. So
Yeah, that's true. Like, would you actually bring her to DV? I don't know, Sinzar. Would
yeah,
you? Like, you're the DV master of all of us here.
yeah.
To be honest, I have not looked at her at all outside of her morale scaling, so I literally have no idea about how she does in trials yet.
See, this is an amazing shift towards actually talking about what she's good for. So we've talked about a lot of things that she's okay for, but what is she actually good for?
Cow. Moo, bitch.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, she's been MVP for Cow for a lot of people. I think purely because she's free if you were able to log in this time around, but also the fact that like it's most people, well, certain people, especially veterans, can definitely EX plus 3er, which really helps in Cow. So I think her staying power will be definitely in the future of how Cow turns out to be. But right now, as of this week or this recording, she is currently one of the MVPs for Cow, and that's why she's highly sought after, I think.
Yeah.
I,
And oh, sorry, Sinzar, go ahead.
I was just going to point out that actually you can EX3 her. Everyone can once you completely finish both panels of the anniversary quest.
Oh, I
Right.
didn't know that.
So this is good because they're doing this thing where they're giving us a unit that actually is really strong for this new content that they just created. We're going to talk about that later, but I just want to
Yeah.
go back to why she's good at cow, and that's basically two things. First of all, her shift sprite. Sorry, I just keep saying sprite because it's so good. But her shift form has two abilities that just flat out increase the morale gauge of the boss, right? And the reason for why that's good is because her base form has an ability that whose damage scales with the amount of morale, or I guess the percentage of the morale gauge, but it's the same shit. Um, and can do like sick amounts of damage. Muspel, do you know like the max modifier in the end or something?
I haven't looked at like I think she has some modifier boost for it somewhere, but like just looking at the wiki, the spammable one is maxes out at 615x.
Which is disgusting.
To be fair, that's only if you move the morale gauge all the way to your direction, which I'm not sure how realistic that is. I haven't had a chance to actually do. Clash
It
of
is
Wills
super
yet.
realistic. That is absolutely the goal for most clears. So
Yeah.
You have to do that by turn 5 if you're going for a high score.
Yeah, and to be clear, this does not work outside of morale battles. Like the morale damage.
Technically, it
boost
works in
doesn't do
arena too. Just saying.
Well, it should not be working anywhere outside of morale battles, bugs notwithstanding.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, okay, so it's 615 of the scaling plus 30, so that's 645x modifier per cast. Hybrid, yes, but 615. That's a lot, right?
Yeah, since it is hybrid, keep in mind that's half physical, half magic, so it's not as crazy as it sounds. But it is still, like, even if you cut that in half, that's still like 300x that you can triple cast, which is very high.
Yeah. And she also has other abilities that also scale with morale. So she also has a Magnus that does even more damage. And this Magnus, for all you Terra lovers, we did say this on the news day as well, also has a 25% Sword Imperil. All right? This is the best thing in the world. Just saying. And she can use that twice. And does anyone remember how long the Imperil is? I seem to remember it was fairly long. So
5
it was like really
turns.
good. Oh, okay. Good. So you're good for 10 turns then of Imperil. That's really nice.
Yeah.
The thing is like I guess this is more addressing the cow, but yeah, it's a really good move. So we can talk about that during the cow section. But
Oh, and Muspel.
overall, she's a great unit.
And Muspel, do you know when you did the calculations, or when Dream, I guess, did the calculations for the wiki sheet, did her calculations include her own Sword and Pearl, right?
I do not do those. Let me double check. Yes, they do.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, really good unit. I just want to be honest here and say I'm really happy to see Elena get an upgrade and be useful again. I just wish they would do the same for Envy base Elena because I really love this unit. So
Yeah,
I'm happy.
I think people are unlikely to use her outside of Clash of Wills unless they're really starved for a recent damage dealer. But for Clash of Wills, she's great, at least in the short term. We don't really know what the power curve is going to look like in there at this point.
Yeah, and that's I think the big caveat here. Like for this week or the next 2 weeks, she will be really good. It's just in the future we don't know what sort of like again, pyrocritical.
Yeah, like they
So,
could release a new NV unit for the next Clash of Wills that does like 5 times as much damage as these ones. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, it's also a new format. We're gonna talk more about that. Anyway, what's our next unit?
the next unit we want to talk about is actually Louise, the first of the two base NV units that were released. And basically, I think when people saw this, they saw, oh, look at this pay-to-win character for CoW. But I don't think that tells the full story. So does anybody want to take Louise away and talk about
So
her for a bit?
on paper, everything about Louise sounds like it should be
Hold on.
fucking
What the?
awful.
Wait. Muspel. You didn't say anything about the TMR and STMR of Elena.
That's because the STMR didn't change in the TM. She always equipped anyways, so the increased stats on it don't matter.
No, but it feels wrong, like incest. Like you should say
Anyways,
something.
on paper, Louise sounds like she should be terrible. She's an element locked, true dual wield, LB maid that uses guns, and like this is like this is Gumi flipping the bird to the player base levels of unit design, at least in theory. But her TM upgrades to a 235 magic gun. She actually can equip barrage, so like you want to use 2 guns ideally for her gun in peril.
Gun in peril. Yep.
But like you could use, I don't know, Physalus's STMR or try to get a second copy of her TM or something just to deal with that. It's not great, but it's workable. She has huge innate killers for every race, like 200% for every single race. So the fact that she has to spend a bunch of materia slots on LB damage, so even though she has 0% LB damage, like she barely has to gear for killers at all. She's fine with that. So this is kind of interesting because it seems like she should be terrible in terms of gearing, but she's actually normal, maybe even above average.
For the viewers that weren't there when Louise was first revealed, I distinctly remember Muspel complaining on Discord, oh, look at this heavy armor wearing, gun wielding, dual wielding, LB damage fire mage. And he was like not looking forward to it. But everything that he was worried about, that I guess the rest of the community could have been worried about, they basically turned it on its head and said, yeah, fuck you. This is actually a good unit.
It turns out that when you give a unit 200% passive killers for every single race, they become a lot easier to gear. Who knew?
Yeah, who knew?
I don't know. Don't tell Ellen. Don't tell Ellen.
One important thing I want to mention, I think you kind of touched on it a bit, Muspel, but her gun is fire-locked. So
yes,
if you want to do anything outside of fire with her LB burst, which is significant, you're going to have to use something else, which also, again, nets her a bit of a loss in damage because her gun is really strong.
Get difficult because not only will the other weapon have lower magic, but then you're also losing a big chunk of LB damage from not using 2 of her gun, and then you're losing out on I guess it's just those 2 things. But yeah, it's going to be a pretty big chunk of damage.
It's still going to be a big hit, right?
Like 2 copies of 4-Wind Physalus's STMR or whatever the second best magic gun is. I don't know. Yeah. I don't pay attention to magic guns because it doesn't really come up usually.
It's not the most common. So Sinzar, listen, I was just thinking, does this matter, right? Because this matters quite a lot. She's fire locked, meaning that you're gonna have a hard time bringing her to the last stage of DV, right? Because nobody's using fire, or?
To be honest, I just at a quick glance, I would assume that this current month's DV is probably going to be like more fire favored because Louise brings like almost everything. She brings the AoE amplify, she brings the field, she brings the 90% break, she brings a lot of personal damage. So she like can by herself completely replace both Bart and Ferris, whose personal damage is really far behind these days. And not only do the same thing, it opens up a party slot, it also lets you bring in Terra without any kind of off-element penalty. So I think possibly this month on Global, we're going to see a lot of fire teams for the final boss.
You had me at Terra. I'm not going to lie. Okay, so I am so happy I pulled Louise.
So by that extension, wouldn't the fire team mostly compose itself of what? A Terra and a Louise, and what else would you fill it with?
Vivi and Steiner, bro. Vivi and Steiner.
No, the usuals. It'd be Zidane, Arden, and Noctis.
Damn it. I was so close.
You were only like 3 units away, Barrow. So close.
Yeah, only 3 units off.
You might actually want Zon as well, because she can buff all of her own killers by 100%. and then Zon could spread that around. So, like, it's not a 200% buff, but 100% killers for everybody else. That might be better than Noctis if Noctis is off element.
She already does share 50% killer to the whole party, so you're only gaining 50% at the cost of the whole party slot.
True.
Though.
You might also want Ling or something, though, because then that's 150% killers for everybody.
For this Dark Visions, the final boss is a beast. So yeah, Ling will probably be on a lot of teams as well this month.
But we'll get to that when we talk about Ling.
But let's talk about her brave, because right now we've talked a lot about her brave shift. That's what she's the damage dealer, and that's where she has a lot of that's where she has her burst and everything. What about her base form?
Well, let's talk about some numbers on her damage first.
Sure.
This is outside of morale battles. At turn 12, she's averaging about 945 billion damage per turn, which is higher than Noctis. Now, there's a few things to keep in mind there. The first is that, like, it takes her a long time to ramp up to there. She doesn't, like, if you look at the first 11 turns, there's only 2 turns where she's above 800 billion. And then after turn 12, she's going to drop off again because she's out of uses of her Grandest ability. So, like, turn 12 is the absolute best it gets for her, period. And it's uphill to get there, and then it's downhill afterward.
You can peak earlier with external support. I think the earliest you can technically peak is around like turn 6 or 8. I forget which.
Yeah, like if you entrust her so that she can get like 2 LBs after using her Grandis, then that'll help a lot. But like even though she has higher damage than Noctis, in practice, unless the fight is lasting almost exactly 12 turns, I think she's going to be like about on par with him. Maybe worse.
And that's again outside of CoW content, right? Because within CoW content, her damage gets like significantly better.
Just like stupid.
Like Elena, she has these abilities that get stronger based on how far the morale gauge is in your direction. I think they cap out at what's the modifier here? Like 580x.
Yeah, no. Look at the Grandis, okay? Just for fun, look at the Grandis. So the
the
Grandis
is single cast, but yes, that one caps out at 880x, and then she has a cooldown that's 730.
You can boost the modifiers of the Grandis a lot with her double Chronicle +4 and the LB, and I'm pretty sure it scales the base because looking at some damage reports in Chamber of Wills or whatever, she's doing so much damage, so I think it boosts the base of the modifier for that Grandis. That's why she's hitting so hard.
And I mean, it's so dumb. Like, even 880x non-hybrid modifier is just stupid strong for one of the 4 casts you're going to do this turn. Sure, the other 3 are not going to be as strong. They're going to be like 730 or something, or 420. But it's still such stupid amounts of damage.
Yeah, honestly, her damage within the context of CoW is just absurd. So if you don't have her, I don't think people should expect to even clear out on the top 1,000, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like,
for context, like when Noctis is dual wielding his jump, he's doing something like 1800x total. And Louise is doing something like 900x from 1 cast. And then she gets 2 more casts that are probably going to be about another, I don't know, 1,000, 1,200-ish.
Still, the issue I think was that when people first saw the data mines for Louise, they thought she would be shit outside of CoW purely because she had low modifiers outside of the morale boosters. But I think the reason that her damage is actually really impressive even outside of morale battles is that her gearing is actually really easy, assuming the fact that we can stick to fire and use 2 of her guns, which most people should be able to do. And the second thing is 200% kills.
All you need to do is just pull 2 Louises, bro.
Well, those things aren't really showing up on the spreadsheets. Like, the reason that she has high damage on spreadsheets is not because of that. It's because she's kind of a one-stop shop for things that you don't typically see on damage dealers. Like, most damage dealers have, like, a 15 or 20% elemental amp. She has a field and a 30% amp, so she's up to 55%. Most damage dealers don't have a weapon imperil. She has a 35% imperil. So, even though, like, her modifiers are mostly average, she's multiplying her damage by so much after those ability modifiers that she ends up dealing very high damage.
But that also means that her ceiling is a bit lower.
Yes, like there's almost nothing you can do with her with external support unless you're using like in trust. or
Exactly.
LB fill. Massive LB
Which
fill.
also like sets her like if you look at whale sheets, you're gonna look that she actually isn't bursting that hard at all in comparison to other units, and that's
Except
again
in morale battles, obviously.
yeah, obviously, but that's again that's because she already brings her entire kit, which makes her very powerful, makes her also fun to use.
And
But
beginner friendly.
yeah, but you're still gonna be turning towards the Noctai, the Ardens, and the Zidanes to do that real big Chunga's energy burst.
Yeah, she's also
I
got like some nice utility in general. Like she can do typed mitigation. It's like delayed and not super strong, but it's there. She's got stat buffs. She's got break immunities for the party. I think she has like a resist buff somewhere, right?
fire
She has a
resist.
ton of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and then she has a Magnus ability that grants the party fire absorb for 1 turn.
Yeah.
Which is the first thing I've ever seen that does that.
So I've already shared why this is a great thing, and I'm gonna just do it again because it's worth repeating. So this actually turns Envy
Don't-
Terra into a
God
better
damn it.
healer
I knew it was coming.
than Aiden.
That's
Okay,
a terrible idea.
this is what
That's
happens.
still a terrible idea.
No, this is a great idea. So what you do is you don't bring a healer, you bring Louise, and then you bring Terra, and then Terra can actually fill up your party on 1 turn. Okay.
You don't have enough imagination, Barrows. You don't bring Terra and Louise. You bring Terra and Louise, and another Louise, and another Louise, and another Louise. And that way you
Yes.
can heal 3 times.
I did not think of this. Muspel, you are a genius. So 5 Louises,
You guys
1
are all
Terra.
fucking crazy.
No.
Go-
Let's not get crazy. Just 3 Louises. You still need a tank, and you still need like a real breaker.
Right.
Like she does have 80% attack and magic breaks, but you're gonna want more than that because Terra can't heal through that much. Not with just 3 turns. Come on, let's be realistic here, Barrows.
Well, I mean, you know what? Terra at least can fall back on like some Kuraga healing, okay? After
Guys,
after Fire Foam ends.
let's get back to reality for a second. I've talked to the producers myself, and I know their vision. And their vision is Louise is actually a breaker because she can actually work as a double breaker if you have 2 of her. So
Yeah, is she one of those units where the cooldowns and shit overlap? I didn't actually look at that.
it's every other turn. So technically, yeah, you can. If you have 2 Louises, you can technically interchange them. But she has 3 turns on the
you're
break
talking about
anyways.
but you're talking about the 80% break, right?
Yeah, the 80% break.
Yeah,
She also has
on.
a 90% spirit break on a Grandis or Magnus ability.
1 used, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you need for DV burst. All right, listen, I think we've been sucking this dick for too long. Let's move on to the next unit.
Wait, we have to talk about the TM and STMR.
Oh,
That's what
yes.
I was going to say. TM,
Yes.
STMR, and Vision Card, because they're actually.
I'm so
worth
sorry.
talking
I'm so
about.
sorry. I'm so sorry. This is true.
The TM, like we touched on this before, baseline is just 175 magic, fire, gun. You can upgrade it from the challenge of the Brave thing, and that gets up to 235 magic and 50% LB damage. I forget if the LB damage is just for her or if that works for other units.
It's just for her.
I mean, the gun
okay.
is just for her.
Yeah, the gun
Yeah.
itself.
Oh,
is
right.
exclusive
Nobody
to
else
her.
can even equip it.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately. So don't be drooling over the high stats gun. Not that like anyone else would want it outside of Physalis and who uses Physalis anymore, but still.
I feel like if you have
Louise
Louise and you're using Physalis, you need help.
yeah, that's one way of putting it. Okay, but how about the STMR? So I'm just gonna say I just liked the aesthetic of the STMR, so I moogled it at once. It's not really one of those you would want to moogle, but it's very nice.
Did I guys ever tell you about how I was able to get both Louise and Ling? I pulled 4 Lings and 3 Louises with up to the pity. So I got 7 on banner rainbows plus the pity, so 8 envies rather.
Okay, I just hate you so much, and you got like 4 guns and shit. Oh my god.
Yeah, basically. I only even mastered 2 of them, so
So
fuck you.
the STMR is heavy armor with high magic, 110 magic. It's basically a slightly stronger version of what is it, Golbez?
Golbez,
Yes,
Golbez.
Golbez STMR.
Yeah, like 10 more magic and fire resist instead of dark resist. Aside from that, there's not much to say about it. Like, if a mage can use this, it's good for them because it has super high magic, but most mages can't use heavy armor. And honestly, like, even for Louise, I think she sometimes might prefer Wizardess Shantoto's STMR because it has the LB damage, which she badly wants. It's going to depend. Like, that one does have less magic. So
Yeah.
But I would
Yeah,
imagine
quite a
it's
lot. I
fairly
mean, quite a
competitive.
lot. Like it, as you said, it depends on what you need more. at
Yeah.
that moment, right?
If she has most of her materia slots free and you have good LB damage materia, then she's probably not using Wizard of Shantoto's STMR. But if she does want a spare materia slot for killers or resists or something, then she might use that.
Yeah. And her card.
But-
What about her card?
Her card
her
is actually
card-
really good because it's 115 mag and 50% mag just up to level 7, which I think is already really, really good. But-
Shadow, how do you
Well-
pronounce magic?
Yeah, does
Okay,
it
so
rhyme with
okay,
vagina
but-
or not?
But if you say magic and it's in the short maj, it doesn't sound right. Because it opens the avenue for Barrows to say things, just to say things, and I don't want to open that avenue for him. So I'm gonna stick to mag, and her level 10 passive is actually really good too, and its restrictions are only FF10 units, FFBE units rather. So yeah, it's all.
It also
very,
has
very good
5
card.
autofill, which is, I think this might be the first card with autofill, and 5 is quite a bit.
Yeah.
And 115 base magic. Now that being said, we are gonna get I think in JP now they have cards with like 120 magic,
Oh, okay.
right?
Well, I mean,
know
this
they have
is-
that. I know they have that for attack. Sinzar, do you know off the top of your head?
Just for attack, JP is scared to give a card with more than 100 magic still.
Oh, okay. So
Oh,
Alan still
wow.
hates mages. Okay, never mind.
But that's good. That means that this is the strongest magic card for quite a while then, right? I mean,
Well-
150 magic is huge.
Yes, but Aerith's card, I do want to point out Aerith, like the upcoming Aerith, who will probably be free if we follow JP's lead. That's 100 magic and 50% LB damage for anyone, not just FFBE units.
Okay.
So
But
that
isn't that
one
restricted to EX3?
On JP, it is, yes.
in
yeah,
JP
because
you
on-
have to get a unit to EX3 to get their card. In GL you get
Yeah.
it to EX1. So we don't really know what that's going to look like in GL, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying like I would not pull for Louise for this card, especially since she's.
Well, if you're ever pulling a unit for a card, you're a whale and you're not really listening to our advice,
Sure.
now, are you? So
Yeah. I'm just saying I
Yeah.
sometimes see people like freak out way too much over vision cards or STMRs, and like the cost is just too high to really justify it unless you're a whale.
honestly,
Yeah.
the vision card itself is really good, except I as you mentioned, yeah, no one would ever pull for it. I think not even whales. But let's go to the next unit because the next unit is just as interesting, if not more interesting, because I feel like she's going to become a staple in a lot of teams. We got White
Really?
Dragon Ling. Yeah. I
Okay.
think so.
All right.
So I guess anybody else want to talk about White Dragon Ling? Yeah, Sinzar, you can talk about Ling. I've seen you use it.
Yeah, Ling's pretty cool. She's like primarily a support unit. She does have a finishing move. It does okayish damage, not great, but she's got like all the support. She's got all 3 mitigations. She's got all the stat buffs. She can heal the party. She can double Mirage. She can do breaks. She can do Dagger in Peril. She's probably the best unit for morale battles. Once we get to that, she fills the morale gauge faster than anyone. But yeah, she does. She can do 5 stack of Mirage every single turn if you entrust her. You're not gonna be able to do that without entrust. But it's our first source of like infinitely renewable 5 stack Mirage, other than like dedicating your whole team to killing Zahn, bringing him back, and doing that.
Yeah, there's actually a cheese strat where you can do Asura without a tank, and you basically just entrust Ling every single turn, and as long as no one attacks more than once, which means that they won't get countered more than once, then you beat Asura without ever taking any damage.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that is impressive, though. That is impressive. And what a ode to the original Ling. That was incredibly popular. She was well loved. Remember at the time when people on Reddit were complaining that every fucking clear used Ling? Remember that time?
I know.
Hey,
But
Warrior
like,
of the
it's
Light,
also because
Warrior of Light 6-star was right around the corner, Barrows.
it was at a time where her kit was actually ridiculously overloaded at the time, that it made sense for people to keep bringing her. And I think White Dragon Ling is an echo to that. Like, her kit is overloaded. There's breaks, there's buffs, there's
Can we please talk
immunities.
about Can we go
her-
down memory lane and talk about the era of original Ling and why she was such a big fucking deal?
Sure, she's a breaker that did everything, basically.
Well, it's not that she was a breaker that did everything. It's that she was the only breaker in the game that had 45% attack and magic breaks, like on the same skill.
Yeah.
For months, I think. So, Like
And
everybody else was stuck at
she
like
was also an
30%.
arena threat. She was also an arena threat, if people remember that.
Yeah,
Just
but
because
like this was an era when filling MP was hard, and you would generally run out on a longer fight. So she could restore MP, and she was a breaker, and she had a few other things too. But really, just like being a breaker in an era when the best breakers were all the other breakers were massively worse than her, and having MP refill on top of that was just such a big deal.
Yeah.
Yes, but Misspell, just wait for Warrior of Light.
Yeah. He was just
Right
around the corner, right? I mean, Jesus. Why was everyone so excited about Ling? I don't get it.
I remember when
She'll-
Ling came out and people were looking at her kit and they were looking at the wrong thing. Like they were looking at the part of her kit that nobody else had, which was the weird ass passive where every time she used an active skill,
Something
it
gets
buffed
stronger.
it buffed her next
Yeah.
basic attack. And people were just like, "Oh yeah, so she'll just dance for 10 turns and then murder somebody with this 10x modifier basic attack." And
Yeah.
that is not why she was good.
No.
I honestly want to say that, like, I mean, if we're staying on the topic of Old Link, just for now, and then we'll go back to New Link. Old Link also, what we would traditionally call as a healer kit, she had some of that too, MP region too, but like cure status imbalance, AoE revive. She had an AoE revive. That was crazy, I think, at the time, for any unit to have. So,
Yeah, although to be fair, like although AoE revive was not really much of a thing back then, it's never been something you used very often. If multiple units were dead, it usually meant you were screwed anyways.
yeah, but the fact that she had an emergency revive at all was actually pretty big. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, I'm just saying it could have been a single target revive, and I don't think it really would have changed anything.
But we're now talking about a different Ling. Okay? Okay, let's leave memory lane and actually talk about the unit that was released this week. So Sinzar, you said that she fills morale gauge like nobody else. Why is that?
Her skill, Glide Step, is you can use it every single turn, and it fills just a flat 650. And then depending on where the gauge is at the time, she can also potentially dual cast or triple cast. I forget the name of it. Dance of Survival or something. I forget the name. But
Dance of Revival?
It's one of them that fills the morale by 200%. Let me look at the wiki.
Yeah. It's Dance of Ferocity or
200.
Dance of Revival.
Yeah, Dance of Ferocity. You can cast that every single turn along with Glide Step, and that's like 1,000 just flat fill every single turn. So while units like Elena have like their Magna skills they can do twice in the fight, Ling can do it every single turn of the fight.
Yeah. And she, so that means that, like, if as Muspel or as all of us mentioned earlier, the way you get top score in CoW right now is by maxing that morale gauge, because that lets you utilize units like Elena and Louise to do damage. So this is really important for morale battles. So I haven't really seen a clear with Ling yet because I haven't had time to actually watch any vids today. So is that all she does in CoW?
Well, no. Go ahead, Sinzar.
Yeah, she has all the buffs too. Like the current, because of Louise and the boss's weaknesses, like all the top teams are either fire or holy, and conveniently she is both support for fire and holy with the imbue, the imperil, the amplify, and all that. And she does things like LB fill, and she grants chaining frames to the entire party, so you can get the chain count score done very easily. So, like, while the morale thing is probably the peak feature in the Chamber of Wills, her whole kit is like being used along with the morale skills.
And do you see her being useful in DV just because she has such a strong supportive kit in general?
I think for right now, she's going to be pretty popular in Dark Visions just because of Zidane, and she boosts up Zidane with the dagger boost, the dagger imperil. Also, like I said, the next boss is a beast, and they Gumi confirmed it in the news. So she's an AoE beast killer, so you can leave home, the old unit Reyna, or if you don't have Reyna, you're going to bring Ling. So I think she's definitely going to be in the next Dark Visions, but unfortunately, the Dark Visions after that, we're going to be probably getting Descendant of Cetra Aerith, and Aerith kind of power creeps Ling in a lot of places.
Okay.
I think in some ways you can look at Ling as an upgrade to Zon on a lot of DV bosses. Like, not all the time, but she has 150% killers. Usually with Zon, you're copying a 200% buff, and you're maybe spending 2 unit slots to do that. And then Ling also does a lot of stuff that Zon doesn't. Like, She has Mirage, 2-stack AoE Mirage. She has 5 stacks on her LB without needing to die or like get knocked down to low health, which is always clunky for Zon. She's got good LB fill. She can do the chain grant. She even has a dagger imperiled, which could be useful for some units, I guess, like Zidane.
Does she have a imperil cure?
Imperil cure.
She has the same one as Realm, where it AoE dispels the entire field, so it removes buffs and debuffs on both sides. So she can like reset the fight, so to speak, but she doesn't have like a just imperil removal.
Right.
I think her strength comes in the fact that in one slot she does so many things. So as long as you like plan out your turn, you'll have a breaker, you'll have a buffer, you'll have an imperil, you'll have everything that you need for in one slot, and that sort of slot efficiency is I think what we need in CoW and in extension certainly DV. But again, yeah, Aerith does come along and kind of power creeper in a lot of ways though in the future.
Can we get some love for her sprite though? Because I also think this is another unit that has a great sprite. Both her.
I think all three units had an amazing sprite. All three of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we didn't talk much about Louise. I think Louise has a great sprite. She has this Samus thing going on in base form, but she becomes so much cooler in her brave shit when she actually takes her helmet off. I've said this so many times, and I still think it's true. But Ling has a weird shift though. Like she puts on this mask. It looks a bit weird.
Wasn't Ling originally an assassin? Like according to the lore, the 4-star Ling was a dancing assassin. So it makes sense that in her brave shift form, she goes into like her assassin / dagger form and has a finishing ability. So I think that was a really cool way to address her past. But she has the other thing that I think I want to talk about is her LB on her brave shift, purely because it has a 200% LB damage boost. I think that's the biggest external one next to what Zidane's song was it? Is that correct?
Zidane himself does a 250 on his LB. If you don't want to spend 6 turns singing, he can do 250 on his base form LB for the whole party.
Oh, okay. So Zidane still has that 50% additional LB damage. Okay, I thought 200% was the highest. I thought that was pretty good. I mean, because I don't have Zidane's STMR, I felt like her base shift LB was actually a really decent replacement for myself in a lot of teams, so I'm liking it. Let's talk about our TMR and STMR, Muspel's favorite topic, and fishing.
Hey, Muspel.
I do not care about her TM. I don't really care about her STMR. It's basically just a worse version of Nyx's STMR for the most part.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. I actually think that her TMR, which is just a attack and health materia, and her STMR, as you said, just a dagger with high attack.
Her TM is basically a slightly upgraded version of Pyro Glacial Aswells, which was like that was a good item like 2 years ago, but now definitely not.
And the dagger, a dagger with 190 attack and just some LB fill. I don't know.
Like HP on a weapon nowadays, like if this were a year ago, this would be great. Because we had trials that like hit your damage dealers and hurt them and they wanted HP, but that hasn't been true for a long time. The LB fill is high, especially if you get the item world rare, but it's still not very exciting. Like there's still whatever was called the Lust Dagger from an old event that has 100%, so this is not much better than that.
Yeah. So how about her card then?
The card
is a little more interesting because
it has the highest attack of any card. 115. Previously, we were at a record of 110. So, like, with a 300% buff and maxed passives, that's gonna be, like, 40 more attack for a unit. But the passives on this card aren't that great. It only has 50% attack and 40% HP. Again, the HP is mostly useless for damage dealers. And by mostly,
but it's also unrestricted. None of these are restricted. But
usually only the level 10 one is restricted, and that's the HP one, so who really cares?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like as you guys mentioned, her all TMR fishing card all have a theme of like adding bulk to the unit, which again would have been valuable a year ago, but not anymore. But I think her vision card, because it's 115 flat attack and 50% without any conditional, like weapon or like things on it, it's actually probably one of the best attack cards we can get right now.
I feel like we should mention though that in JP they got Sephiroth's card, which has 125 attack and 50% LB damage and 100% undead killer.
Everything about that FF7 banner makes me hate this game. But
it's like Sinzar. Is it the next week? banner? Is that what we think?
Yeah.
Goom-
What did your Gumi sponsors tell you?
Gumi confirmed it is in summer, so it'll probably be the last week of October, I guess.
Ah, right.
Gumi
Makes
summer.
sense.
Gumi
Makes sense.
summer. Gumi
Makes
summer.
sense.
Yeah.
No, I was just asking because like Sinzar is obviously on the Gumi payroll, so he has the inside information. I just checked if he wanted to like make something slip, but he was too smart for that. Okay. All right, but really good unit, really good unit. And anyone that gets her should be happy because she's going to be useful for a long time, if nothing in cow battles.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even think we touched on like 2/3 of her kit. Like, you really have to look at her wiki page. She has a lot of
Yeah,
stuff
she has
that can
everything.
do.
I mean,
Her
we would
kit
spend
is
30 minutes
overloaded.
just reading wiki. So
Her kit really is overloaded, but yeah, she's one of those things that I think again will be really used in anything. It's not like Louise where Louise really shines in cow and everything else. She's probably okay to good, but like Ling is going to be good in everything. So there we go. But I
yeah,
think that's
as
all the
long as
units.
you can. I mean, yes, but or Sinzar, I guess you're gonna be the one correcting me on this one. But I also feel that a dedicated support unit is so hard to slot in for other content because usually we want to max out damage or something. And I mean, sure, she has the killer buffs, but again, yeah, I don't know.
Well, we don't really have other content other than Dark Visions and Clash of Wills now.
Yeah, there's that
But
too.
there's actually quite a few Dark Visions coming up where people like in JP where they frequently slot in like Mazurka and stuff for the multiple stack Mirage because of boss mechanics. So
Okay.
Ling will be excellent for those bosses coming up.
Oh,
Just
that's
because
nice.
she can do the multi Mirage and still give you a perfect score for all the accuracy AoEs that are going to be coming.
Oh, okay, but
Her
that's really good to know.
during a kill turn, she does have the Dragon's Bite, which isn't again the biggest damage, but it's not terrible either. It's like in that solid lukewarm to bad category.
Triple cast 220x. Yeah, like she'll need a full LB gauge to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And do we have some damage numbers? Like, did anyone calc this to see what the burst is
I
actually
did.
at to
Her
compare?
stats look fine. I think the main problem is just her weapon selection is not great. Like, you're going to need 2 high attack daggers, basically.
Yeah, but if you have Zidane's fully upgraded STMR and her STMR, I think that alone is actually really like indecent making her damage. Like my Ling alone, she hits like 5600 attack like it's no one else's business. So yeah, it should be decent.
Nice
So
humble
six-
brag. Now calm down.
Yeah, I think it's actually high damage. It's just it feels low in relation to some of the other monsters. that we've
Exactly.
seen
Yeah.
lately.
It's actually really high, especially considering she's a support unit, right? Like if you bring, I don't know, any other support unit, you're not like Mazurka, for example. I don't think Mazurka is there to do damage in that sort of scenario, but we'll see. Before we go on, actually, I want to talk about one more thing about the vision cards. I think both Louise and Ling's vision card, like their animations, are like top notch, and everybody should check them out. Especially Ling's, like the way that they show Ling in that, I think it was fantastic.
Yeah,
So-
actually, I'm gonna disagree because I thought Ling's was a bit weird because aesthetically, like, okay, so it's a really cool story. Check it out because she like changes costume from going from dancer to assassin, but like the daggers and the mask look so weird. I actually didn't like it. Something throws me off as she puts on them. Like it looks like she has sunglasses and she's vacuuming the floor with like dual wielding vacuum cleaners. Like I don't know. It's just me. I'm sorry, Shadow, for
Okay.
bursting your bubble. I really hear that you love Ling, and I'm sorry. She's a great unit. Otherwise,
Oh, no, I think Louise and Ling both are like fantastic units, and I'm glad that Gumi decided to go ahead with them as the, I guess, banner of anniversary, because it really does. They're both really cool units. But
So,
Yeah.
do you
That's a
guys
whole
think that they had originally planned a Marvel collab, and then Luis is their attempt to salvage an Iron Man sprite?
well, I mean, Square Enix does have some Marvel licenses, right? So there's that. Could be.
Could have been
Hey,
it.
you could be not wrong. Actually, Muspel, you could be not wrong. But I mean, she does give off those vibes. She definitely
Yeah.
does.
I mean, it could
Like-
just be reference. I'm just wondering if it was something that was actually planned and then scrapped, and they tried to get what they could out of it.
Honestly,
what they
I
already
get
put
more
in
like
there.
when she takes off her helmet in her Brave Shift, I much more get same as Aaron vibes from the Metroid game series because um, um, that's like an iconic pose for when she takes off her helmet.
I guess, yeah.
But yeah,
Remember when
I
people
do see the Iron Man
speculated
reference.
it was Guardians of the Galaxy because Star-Lord, but that was also a thing.
Star-Lord. Okay.
Yeah, people thought it was Star-Lord when they first saw the silhouette, but it really.
So
In
the
the
other
end.
thing that's new this week is Clash of Wills, also known as Clash
Yes.
of Wales.
How?
Oh, now you're playing into Sinzar's hands here, because like Sinzar has some complaints about this.
I
don't
have
know,
not
I-
actually had a chance to do this yet because I've been really busy with school stuff.
Okay,
What about you
so
guys?
let me take a moment to explain this thing called Clash of Wills. You bring 6 units, kind of like DV, and you have X amount of turns, kind of like DV, to kill it. Now, unlike DV, there is no damage taken that's taken into score, and unlike DV, it's not like 10 different bosses that you have to face with regearing each time. Rather, it's one boss based on a certain number of modifiers that you choose to face at whatever level. And whatever level, I mean, it starts at level 1 all the way up to level 99, and that changes the boss's stats and AI slightly based on which tier. And then you choose modifiers, things like the boss gets 20% more attack, or 100% more elementals, or shit like that. And after you set all those modifiers and you kill the boss, you get a final point. That final point, whatever highest final point you got, is the one that you're going to get ranked on, and based on that rank, you get rank rewards. So that's the gist of CoW.
Yeah,
Now the
and just also we should mention that there's also a clear reward in CoW
yeah, that's
that's
what I was
actually the
going
most.
into.
Okay, sorry,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, I was actually gonna mention that CoW's best rewards are actually the clear reward, and that you only need to clear up to level 99 to get all the best rewards. The rank rewards are nice, like cherry on top. It's not like DV where the best rewards are actually technically the rank rewards, but the clear rewards are actually absolutely kind of useless. So they kind of reverse DV this and made CoW a clear, focused thing. And if you really want to rank better, that's where you get more of the materials to make the crown, I guess the CoW crown, I guess we could call it. But yeah, the rewards, Barrow. So you want to talk about those said rewards, those clear rewards?
Yeah, so it seems like we're gonna get 3 cows per season, as they call it, and each cow will give you 3,500 obnoxious crystals.
Onyxus?
Sure. Anyway, 3,500 currency. And for 3,000 of said currency, you can buy an NV from that season's shop. And that season's so the shop stays the same throughout the season, and this season's units are I'm gonna go off the top of my head, but it's like Melia, Faris, SOS Lightning. Who can help me
Lunafreya.
fill in the gaps?
Phasey, and Snow.
Okay. So you actually get a free if you clear up to level 99, which isn't difficult. I mean, if you have some units, like I think this time around, level 99 you get for free if you just have Terra, and if you clear up to 99, you get a guaranteed NV. That's pretty cool, and not just a guaranteed NV, an NV of choice. Yeah, from the shop. I mean, it's still a limited selection, but it's a really good selection. So that's really cool.
They literally have the best unit in the game in there. So
yeah, exactly.
Which her name's Lunafreya.
No. Listen. No. I want to hear Muscle say it. Which is
Snow.
Yeah. See, that's what I knew.
Most people in this hard on for tanks are just never ends.
It's actually Phasey, just in case anyone was taking that seriously.
Yeah.
I guess we could talk about more. Just the fact that this is a 3-month thing, right? So the shop will be cycled in 3 months. So you have 3 months, 3,500 per cow. So what's that? A total of what? 10,000?
10,500.
Niches.
Aren't you an accountant, motherfucker? How is 3,500 times 3 10,000? Okay.
Oh, fire! 15,000. Yeah, around like 15,000. So
no,
wait, 50. Jesus Christ, you're the worst accountant in the world.
Wait. It's a 3,500 per cow.
What is 3,500 times 3, Shadow? You can do this. I believe in you.
10K.
I believe in you too.
Right?
No. Come on, dude. Come on.
Shadow. What is 500 times 3? Okay, and what is 3,000 times 3?
9,000.
And what is 9,000 plus 1,500?
15,000.
That's like 10K.
I know this.
That's 10,500.
Okay, that's like 10K.
All right. Okay. It's fine, Shadow. It's fine.
That's 20%. That's 20%. Okay. Anyways, the point is, you get 10K. That means you get 3 choices of MVs of one of the best MVs in the game.
Never hire this man to do your taxes.
Listen. He's an accountant for high-level companies. He probably just doesn't care for the small numbers. Okay, it's
Hey,
all
hey,
about the big numbers.
hey. Shh.
Okay, listen. You don't have to defend yourself, Shadow. It's okay. Nobody listened this far into the podcast anyway.
But the point here is this: I'm curious to see what they do in the next 3 months, because this 3 months of rewards is so good. What if they go into the next 3 months and give us, like, I don't know, original NV Cloud, original NV Air, and like original
No.
NV
So they're not.
Star?
Oh, you mean like the next season? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the next season.
Um,
So I'm kind of
well,
curious what they do next.
I mean,
Well, you have to keep in
one
mind,
thing I'm gonna say.
these
So
units are at this point fairly old. So
yeah,
I think the newest one is Luna Freya.
and listen, did anyone else notice that they're kind of setting up the units that you get to buy as a decent roster? So it's actually a way for players to fill gaps in their roster. Is what I'm feeling, because like you have the
I don't entirely agree with that. Like, there's very good units in here, but they have 3 tanks, 2 damage dealers, and whatever in the blue fuck lightning is. Which I
well,
don't
lightning
think
is
anyone
both
really
a
knows
damage
for
dealer
sure.
and a breaker, so she's
I
actually pretty
guess,
fucking
but
good.
like there's no healer, there's no support unless you count Phasey. They're not. They don't really seem to be trying to spread it around very much. Is my sense.
I don't know. When I looked at the roster, I was like, oh, this is a gap closer. This is that like, oh, you don't have a physical tank? You're welcome. You don't have a magic
Yeah,
tank?
I
You're
mean, I
welcome.
think that a lot of people are going to be able to get someone very good about this. But I think if out of this, I think if you're saying like there is a complete roster of each role in here, that's not really true.
Yeah, no. That's not what I meant. I meant it's a gap closer. It's gonna fill any gap in your roster, is what I'm saying. So if you're lacking a breaker, you're gonna find one there. If you're lacking a tank, you're gonna find one there. Sure, damage dealer may be a bit thin, like outside of evokers. But there's still lightning there. She still does damage. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know.
I just look at lightning as not a very good breaker, and I think that if you're getting to level 99, you probably have someone better than her at breaking already. So
Depends.
Anyways,
yeah.
CoW is a
Yeah.
Anyways,
really good clear reward, unlike TV.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
but
and the
but
hat, we kind of need to talk about the hat, because the hat is actually really good, especially for that
well,
chain cap
I
increase.
think Sinzar hasn't said anything in a few minutes. So before we move on to the hat, let's talk about how he feels about the actual structure of the boss fight.
Oh yeah,
The boss fight itself is very very cool. The biggest problem I would have with it is it's really cool, and probably 75% of the boss fight you're never gonna see, because it's, I was looking forward like a more trial oriented content. This is
Amen.
just Dark Visions with a small twist on it. You still spend like a few turns setting up, and then you burst the boss and you skip almost the entire mechanics. So while the boss is extremely cool, has like a laundry list of mechanics that if you go through all the phases and thresholds, probably 99.9% of players are just never going to see him, which is a real shame in my opinion.
Well, I mean, put it this way, right?
Do you think it would be more interesting if the boss had HP locks and like at each threshold, like they reset the morale gauge and then you had to build it back up? So like it was essentially 4 separate fights or 3 separate fights or however many HP locks there were, one for each threshold.
That would be extremely cool. And I will say like a disclaimer, at the absolute toppest tier of doing the boss fight, you can't one-shot it. You've got to like kill it across 2 bursts. So the players that are fighting for like the top 100 ranks that are on rank level 99 with all the modifiers active, they will see the mechanics when they do their burst turn and don't kill it, because it's just so bulky. So, a few players will see that, but the people that aren't like going into level 99 with all the modifiers active aren't going to see that. But it does exist in the fight. So maybe, next month Gumi will adjust it so you can't just skip the entire fight with burst damage.
Yeah, from what little I've seen of it, like on the higher difficulty, it does look like it's something more resembling a trial. Like it's not what I wanted out of the mode, but it's better than Dark Visions, which is a low bar to clear, but progress is progress.
I also want to swing for that this is actually a beta, right? Like it actually says beta in the
Yes.
game. They have mentioned that they want players' feedback, and they have shown other stuff. Like, for instance, what I'm thinking of is they showed a damage taken score. So we don't have a damage taken score right now. Damage taken does not matter towards your total damage, so you can take as
I,
much
I,
damage
I,
as you
I
want.
hope they don't add that as a
No,
scoring
no, but listen,
mechanism.
I have a point for this. I'm going somewhere with this. So maybe there will be other versions because this version is very DV-esque. It's very much like do the maximum amount of damage. You do your setup. You try to burst it down. Um, what if there will be survival based chamber or a cow fights, cow levels? Okay, where you
A
are actually
secret cow level.
yeah, yeah, but where you're actually ranked on how much damage you take, and the fight is more about surviving the boss. I mean, there are many things because we saw actually them handing out modifiers or demoing modifiers such as healing reduced by 80% and stuff like that. And we have none of that right now. Right now, all the modifiers just make the boss bulkier or hit harder. So they're very one-sided. They're just amping the difficulty of the boss.
Yeah.
But there's more, or could be, I guess.
I
Also,
was.
also,
Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to step in real quick and make a clarification. I said most people aren't going to see the boss fight. That's me speaking from experience after doing the fight for 3 days and learning the fight. I will say that the boss has an enormous amount of counters that if you do this, she's going to do this back to you. And people that go in there that don't know the fight or have it memorized or have like a guide open, they are going to get hit so hard and destroyed and killed. And I have seen a lot of complaints like, oh, the boss is doing this, this, and this. Why is this happening? I can't even hurt the boss. She's absorbing my elements. Why is all this happening? So it's a very complicated fight if you don't know how to do the fight. So, but the thing is, once you know the fight or you open a guide and you step by step follow it, the boss is extremely straightforward and basic. But if you don't know what's going on, like you use one wrong element, lights out. it's over.
Yeah.
Name a more iconic duo: Gumi and like overcomplicated AI.
But
To be fair, this is kind of a reference to the Empress Supreme Chamber of Vengeance trial. She had some similar stuff where, like, if you guard, then she'll gain permanent mitigation, and so on. Just like somebody at Gumi was really obsessed with making sure the boss would react to everything you did. And
yeah.
it seems to me like this one is the same concept, even though it's not like the same reactions.
Yeah. But Sinzar, are you planning on doing like something like a budget clear of it, but without, OTKing it and just doing a level 99 guide?
Oh yeah, I actually I did that on the very first day. I cleared level 99 slow mode, no bursting. I went through every single threshold and phase. I did it across like 17 turns or something, and I used all old units with cheap gear. So yeah, as long as you know the fight, it's very very doable. But you just have to know what's going on.
I mean, that's super
And the
cool because that means that other players will just be able to do the level 99 clear and start getting these free NVs, which I think is pretty cool. That's very generous. Generous rewards. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah. For me, the biggest disappointment here is that in the initial preview that we saw of this event, one of the difficulty modifiers they had listed was an 80% healing reduction to all healing that your units do. And
Yeah.
that is not here in this event. Now, it could be that's something they're working on. They haven't like managed to implement it yet. Maybe it's hard. I would imagine that with the general spaghetti code around FFBE, it's hard to staple on things like that. But that was one of the things I was most excited for. We've talked on this podcast before about how one of the problems with boss design these days is that healing is too powerful. So either your units are dead or they're alive, and it doesn't really matter how much health they have if they're not gonna if the boss is not, because the boss has to one shot them for them to be at risk. Healing doesn't matter because it's always healing you to full.
Exactly.
And if you have a huge healing reduction, then that changes because it means that your units, like being at half health, is worse than being at max health because it's hard to heal your unit back up to full. So
Right. I mean, attrition becomes part of the game again, right? And that would be
yeah,
really cool to see. I was just like you, Muspel. I was kind of hoping to see some more of that and getting some more interesting, something different than just ODKing or doing max damage to a boss is what I was hoping for. I was hoping to get nerfed on, not being able to use certain elements or I don't know, not being able to use breaks. That would be interesting. Not being able to use breaks and still have to survive the boss and do like shit like 5 stack
No, that sounds
Mirage.
terrible.
No, but I mean, I was saying this on the previous episode where I think that one thing that would be incredibly cool for future cow battles would be to have different ways of capping score in every battle depending on the modifiers you choose, right? So imagine that there is like a super whale clear of ODKing, and then you use just a certain amount of modifiers. But there's also a bulky clear that can also net you a super high score if you have incredibly bulky units that can still do damage, and you can fill a full team of those, and then you use other modifiers that benefit you for being bulky instead. I would like to see that. I would like to see like different ways of clearing the same boss with a high score. That would be so cool. But I also think that's incredibly difficult to design around. So kudos to them if they figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, like it says, this is a beta. I'm hoping that they work on it and evolve it in a direction that's more focused on defensive stuff. But like I said, it is still better than Dark Visions as it stands. So I'm hoping
It's,
that I'm hoping they're moving in a direction that takes them further away from the Dark Visions.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. Thank God. If Gumi's listening to this, just take it further away from Dark Visions and we'll like it even more.
But since
To be
I wanted
clear,
to like
take it further away from Dark Visions and towards Trials. Don't go off into some kind of weird, I don't even know, direction.
but one thing I want to talk about before we leave this segment is something that Sinzar, I've seen you complain about this as well, which is the fact that these modifiers that you apply to the boss, they cost EX awakenings, if that's a way to put it, right?
Yeah, so while the event is lucrative, it's generous, it gives you all kind of rewards, it's cool, they put a lot of effort into it, it also, in my opinion, has a tremendous negative aspect, which is it locks the, end game of the event behind EX levels. So I personally would love to challenge the highest difficulty and have fun with it, do the best I can. But unless you have I am literally speaking, unless you have a full team of EX3 every single unit, that is just off limits to you. It is a actual hard wall that locks you out of doing the hardest difficulty until you have a full team of EX3 units.
Yeah, and I think
And
full team is the important point here, right? It's not just putting any EX3 units into a 6-man team. You need to have a team that's also going to be able to beat the boss, right? So
Yeah.
so it's
To
very
clarify,
specific EX3 units.
To clarify, the way that it works is the difficulty modifiers have star cost associated with them, and you get 1 star for each EX level on your team. So if you have 6 EX3 units, you have 18 stars, and I think all of the modifiers added together cost 18 stars. So you need those units to activate every modifier. If you have less, then you cannot activate some of the modifiers, and the fight will be easier.
Exactly.
Will give you
And
less score.
And it also influences your score. So it's impossible to get the best score without an EX3 unit because there are players that already have posted legit clears of level 99 at full modifiers. So it's doable, and people have already done it on the second day or the third day. But but players like me that play the game pretty seriously, but just don't have access to full EX3 units. We just can't do that. We literally cannot do that. And I think it's just it's a real black mark against the event. I will address some comments I've seen from other players that talk about this, and they say, "Oh, it's fine because it's just like Dark Visions. If you don't have the full whaled out team, you're not high scoring," which is true. But then that's like an organic way to gate the players is by their own power level. It's not like an artificial hard lock that you just don't have EX3, so you can't even play the game regardless of how well you're going to score.
I think I would be more
can't do
okay with those limitations if the if it still costs stars to, or whatever you want to call them, to activate the difficulty modifiers, but the maximum cost wasn't 18. Like if let's say it took, I don't know, 13 or 14 stars to get everything, then that way you still need like a lot of EX levels on your team. You need at least 1 EX3 unit, but you don't need everyone to be EX3. So the whales have an advantage, but it's not like an insurmountable one.
I mean, I think there are many ways of just like tweaking it a bit and to make it less hard lock. Because I'm gonna say I was in the opposite camp as Sinzar when this event first came out, and I was saying, "Hey, look, I don't see it as a hard lock. I see it very much as DV." But now I actually don't agree with myself anymore because what you're saying, Sinzar, is that, I mean, in DV there was still you could still cap, you could still get high score without these bells and whistles. This is just a harder cap and a much more restrictive one than DV ever was, and you can compensate in DV in a different way. I'm seeing what you're saying in that this is a very specific cap.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, if for example, every single player could turn on EX level 18 or all the modifiers, then as usual, the best geared, best players are going to be in the top ranks, and then players that try hard they will land wherever their team and skill has landed them, and they won't hit this wall where no matter what, you just cannot go further.
Exactly.
It's not because of your gear. It's not because of your strategy. It's because you just have not pulled enough duplicates of the units. And it's...
And they're just taking that chance from you, right? Because here's the thing. Okay, it's quite likely that the player that can also fill the perfect team, I mean, right now, full EX3 team is required, right? And you're guaranteed you need to have Elena, Louise, and Ling all at the EX3 as well. So it's like very specific. Now, imagine, like, I mean, obviously this player is going to rank higher than you anyway, right? But it sucks that you're not even getting the chance to try. So I'm really like, I'm feeling your camp now, Sinzar. After having felt the event for a couple of days now, I see it.
Yeah, and I definitely see that sort of frustration, and I feel that frustration because like I myself can't get past I think 14 or 15, but even then that's like pretty high compared to most other people. So what I feel like this feels like some sort of trade-off where they said, okay, we'll give you really really good clear rewards, but here's the trade offer, and we'll make sure that whoever wants to get top rankings, they need a full team of EX3s, and that's what you need. So it does feel like some sort of weird like monkey's paw type deal where it's like we did get free NPs per like event, but now that because EX3 is a requirement for like high level clears, it does split the player base even more.
But I mean, it's also ridiculous because here's the thing. As I was saying, you need very specific units to clear this anyway, and it's likely that if you want to cap, if you want to reach the highest scores, you're going to need EX3 anyway. So why also lock the modifiers behind EX? Because EX levels are going to get you there anyway. Like the highest players are going to cap because they have EX3 units and all the gear, right? So there's really no reason for locking modifiers behind EX stars, to be honest. Like I don't see it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Overall, this is the sort of I think feedback that Gumi probably needs right now.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
If we can voice it, so keep voicing it on Discord, on Reddit, on Facebook. So anyways,
Call Shadow's mom.
Anywhere that Gumi might read this, but that's CoW, and I think we've beat this CoW to death. Let's talk about anniversary for a second, just for a bit until we close. What do you guys feel about 5th anniversary as a whole?
I'm fine with it. I mean, I know some people are incredibly pissed. I don't like the slots. I'm not a huge fan of... I feel like the Clash of Wills has missed the mark, but I think some people expect way too much from anniversary and they get way too mad about it, and it's ridiculous.
Yep.
I don't know. Are people angry? I feel
the
opposite. I feel like, okay.
Yeah.
I must have missed some type of rage because I think this was a great anniversary. Generous gifts.
People always like to count how much they got from the last anniversary and compare it to the current one and complain about how we're getting less.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's the thing. I haven't checked if we're getting less, but I still feel like good rewards. Nice event, great banner. I don't know what more to expect from an anniversary, to be honest. Maybe I'm just easy to please, if you know what I mean.
The anniversary overall for me has been, it's fine. It's an anniversary. Probably the biggest disappointment I've had is not the rewards. It's all the skipped like unit upgrades and enhancements and EX2 abilities.
Yeah.
I kept expecting all that. Oh, they're waiting to unveil it during the anniversary stream, and here we are, and they're still MIA. So that's my big thing. It's not really directly related to the anniversary, but I was really expecting those to be released with the anniversary, and still no.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like EX2 Aerith abilities are going to break the game. Jesus, just give us them.
I will say one thing. I don't know if Gumi listens to the podcast, but if you do, please, for the love of God, these slot events, make it so that it's faster to use our slot coins.
Yeah.
It's horrific. It takes like half an hour on the first day to go through all the coins. And I think we're getting a total of 500 this event.
Yeah.
That's like 5 hours of my life I will never get back.
Okay, it's not that much. It's not that much, but I definitely feel your pain. It does take too long because it's just not engaging enough for me. I don't know. I mean, again, I'm a dad. I value time over everything else. So to me, having to click roll and skip 75 times, that's a pain. But maybe others enjoy it. I don't know.
So, assuming you take about 20 seconds per spin, 500 spins takes 2.7 hours.
Oof, Jesus Christ, that's actually very long. Holy shit.
But
Okay.
guys, this increases engagement. You know, if Square looks at the reports and they saw all these like high engagement numbers in Anniversary, they'll be like, "Oh my God, Slots was a massive success." So
Maybe.
Also, they're
maybe.
making us do Arena, which is not great, but
you remember
that's a
when
different
Arena?
discussion.
I don't know if the bug was fixed, but I did see Arena with morale bars the other day. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah,
Of all
no,
the
and
bugs.
it was even confirmed that morale bars have an effect on abilities in Arena. So if you have the morale bar in
Oh
Arena,
yeah, you can
you're
hit that 999 damage cap even easier, because
yeah,
that's always such a struggle to do in Arena.
yeah. No, but it's
Mhm.
still funny. It's still funny. Um, yeah.
What about so I the only thing that I want to add about Anniversary is that there were a lot of people that were angry in regards to the number of rewards that we got compared to JP, which I think is also always a terrible comparison, purely because we have different step ups, different I guess average lapis intake per month compared to JP, and different sort of again it is a different game. Like people make jokes that it's a different game as if it was mocking Gumi, but it is a different game because there's different standards for how much lapis we get versus the types of banners that we get. And the other thing is rewards. I thought rewards were fine because the MVUOC, for example, that was pretty cool. Like I got affairs from that, so I was pretty happy. Um, would you rather have like 100 trash pulls or one MVUOC? And I take the one MVUOC every day. So there's
Yeah,
that. But the bugs was just annoying, even with CoW, right? Like there's the Esper disappearing bug. I don't know why that happens, but it happens to me so often. I've lost at least 5 different CoW orbs already. Or the first 24 hours of that after the patch, we couldn't even enhance our units. That was pretty hilarious. It worked for 5 years and then doesn't work for the 5th year anniversary. It becomes poetic. So
yeah,
overall, it's I was like it was like a lukewarm, mediocre
yeah,
anniversary, not a terrible one, but not the best one. The best one probably
yeah.
third Annie.
But
So
we're at an hour and 20 minutes of recording time, so we're gonna have to wrap it up here for this week. So we
yeah,
will see you all next week.
cue the chocobos.
See you later.
Yeah, if
Bye.
anyone actually survived 1 hour and 20 of us, like you deserve a prize. Shadow is gonna give away a Steam key to you if you just DM him in our Discord. Okay, go ahead.
This is not true.
And
I
do
wonder how
not
many
do,
people
do
will
not
listen
do
to
not DM Barrows under any circumstances. Trust me, you will not like what you get.
Yeah, you will get a penis. Like you don't even have to wonder. It's like it's a dick, 100%. But listen, I wonder how many people actually heard this. This would be
All
a
right.
good test. Like, hey, DM Shadow if you heard this. You're not gonna get a Steam key. You might get like a hot nude or something. But like, just DM Shadow and Shadow, you let us know how many people DM'd you.
I think we
A
need to
total of
cue the
0.
chocobos about like 30 seconds ago before
All right.
Barrows responded.
Bye, everyone.